Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, District Attorney Brian P. Green, employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Judge Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, Paul C. Metzler, James Family Jr., Penn Court. My name is Chris Chichester. This is the Freedom of Information Law. Well, I'm talking directly to you, Perry Duckles of the District Attorney's Office, and $140,000 public defender, Julie Cianca, because I have your emails. So this is the Freedom of Information Law, passed in 1978 by my former employer, the New York State Legislature, to empower ordinary citizens to acquire information. I'm an ordinary citizen on Tuesday, August 11, 2026, attempting to acquire information where you will refuse to disclose this information to me. That's why the title is called Repeatedly Disclosure, where I just changed the date. It's real simple to disclose information you have in a paper file, electronic file, as I'm on here at 1 minute, 5 seconds. So I already told you verbally, disclose the names of my prosecutor's silence and send it to me, to the address on the form I'm going to read. How many times do I have to ask you? Because it's more than 1,000 times I'm going to say ask. I'm not asking, I'm demanding. I just use that word in a general way. Because when there's a question mark at the end of a sentence, I'm asking. But I need to clarify this for you freaks and degenerates and psychopaths at the district attorney's office and public defender's office to tell you to disclose this information to me where I'm not asking. So, Tuesday, August 11, 2026, I do not have the payroll at district attorney's office that I used to point to and say, who is it? But I'm going to reacquire it. I have so much documentation, so many pages, thousands of pages of documentation that for some reason I could not locate the sheriff's office payroll, district attorney's office payroll. But if I can find it where I am, I'm going to tell you where I am. And I reacquire it. I'm going to continue to point to the district attorney's office payroll and say, who is it? And if the employee has left, I don't care about that because there were disciplinary committees for me to contact for disbarment and discipline. So who is it? At 2 minutes and 17 seconds now. Freedom of Information Law, August 11, 2026, documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with John P. Lomenzo Jr. Penn Court. What is the name of the prosecuting district attorney, Brian P. Green? You have this information. $113,000 Perry Duckles, $140,000 public defender Julie Cianca. Send it to me. Freedom of Information Law, documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with Paul C. Metzler and Penn Court. What is the name of the prosecuting district attorney, Brian P. Green? You have this information. $113,000 Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles, $140,000 public defender Julie Cianca. Send it to me. Freedom of Information Law, documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecuting district attorney Brian B. Green? You have this information. Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles at $113,000 and $140,000 public defender Julie Cianca. Send it to me. This is where you can send it right here. That's also where you can send the documentation that's a lie from you freaks and degenerates and sociopaths, forcing me to court Alex Ryan just some other hack over at 99 Exchange Boulevard. We don't have to utter one goddamn word. I'm going to stand there like it's exactly like a Soviet Union show trial where the corrupt judge is going to declare me guilty of the fiction and lies, and then I'm going to be in Monroe County Jail where I'm not told a jail sentence, and I'm going to languish in Monroe County Jail day after day and week after week because that's already happened to me repeatedly. Because I'm non-sentenced to jail. When I contact the New York State Legislature, I'm going to send them this documentation, and I'm also going to be on here soon talking directly to you at the district attorney's office about being non-sentenced to jail. Non-sentenced is any freak cop at the Rochester Police Department or Monroe County Sheriff's Office can decide you committed a crime, and then they deposit you in Monroe County Jail where you're non-sentenced. Because the freak cop that is corrupt can't identify a crime, and then you languish in jail, nonsense. Just because one free cop decides this. And then the judge can hold you as nonsense to jail, because this has happened to me repeatedly. I'm being held in Livingston County Jail because of $28,000 bald-headed, skin-headed Paul C. Metzler in Geneseo, New York. Because Richard Seaton stalked me at the Pebble Public Library, ran at me, slammed me in the head, I fell down, put the handcuffs on me, takes me down the hallway of this vile, disgusting Star Chamber, Penn Court. I'm driven out of Monroe County to Livingston County, and there I am, nonsense. Is that constitutional? I talked about that previously. So, Alex Renzi, John P. Lomenzo Jr., Paul C. Metzler, who is it? The grand jury here $73,312 Michael Flynn lied under oath to the grand jury. Why don't you call me to the grand jury, Michelle Crowley? District Attorney Brian P. Green, call Michelle Crowley into your office today and ask her this question. Why didn't you call the citizen Christopher Chichester, who lived in Penfield, New York, to your grand jury that you convene when he doesn't know the grand jury is convened? Ask her a simple question. Does it matter, District Attorney Brian P. Green, to you? And the answer is it doesn't matter at all to you that this freaking psychopath Michelle Crowley impounds this grand jury I don't know exists. Michael Luhan lies under oath. I don't know how the grand jurors were selected. I don't know what was said to Michelle Crowley to Michael Luhan. I don't know what Michael Luhan said to the grand jurors. I don't know anything, but you do at the district attorney's office. So answer this freedom of information law. District Attorney Brian P. Green and Michelle Crowley, district attorney's office, promoted. Information about the grand jury convened by District Attorney Sandro, 2 target Christopher Chichester as 1. The day, month, and year the grand jury is convened. 2, the assigned district attorney's office employed to address the grand jury. 3, the witness that testified to the grand jury. 4, the vote of the grand jurors. 5, transcript of the grand jury proceeding. Violently attacked by Richard Seidman, the Penfield Public Library. Todd Baxter loves violence. He's embraced violence. I contacted the sheriff about this violence attack July 15, 2023, July 15, 2024, July 15, 2025, July 15, 26. When I acquire the payroll again, I'm going to go right to Richard Seidman's name. He's not going to be paid $75,000 He's going to be paid $85,000 or $90,000 or $95,000, which I'm going to quote myself and say this is exactly what I said on this August 11th about this violent psychopath freak cop who should be in Attic State Prison where he's fucked in the ass by a murderer. So, Freedom of Information Law, August 11, 2026, the issuance of a new check to Christopher Chichester, address flow expired, check in the amount of $61.39, counting on roll office, sheriff and May fund account. That's the dollar amount in the pocket of Chichester. We violently attacked the Penfield Public Library with $75 for Richard Seidman of the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office. 1 year ago, on August 11, 2025, I contacted you, Julie Cianca, public defender. There's your names right there. This is arrived repeatedly, the public defender's district attorney's office, and online when I put it, attached in PDF. So, 1 year ago on August 11, 2024, contact the UTVOutlook.com with this language attached PDF as Freedom of Information Law document dated August 11, 2024 that will arrive in your office via registered mail return receipt. Mail the names of my fanatical prosecutor, silence the address in the foil, with my address listed below in Rochester, New York. Attached are 3 Freedom of Information Law documents. This language dated August 11, 2025. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, Paul C. Metropolitan Town Court, what is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Sandra Dorley. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with Paul C. Metropolitan Town Court, what is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Sandra Dorley. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, what is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Sandra Dorley. You can watch me describe extremist, fanatics, psychopaths on YouTube at YouTube One Judge, the corruption of Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley. YouTube Abusive Power, Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley, Alex Renzi. YouTube Identification, Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley. YouTube Insane, Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley. YouTube 113-918-94 First District Attorney Perry Duckles, identified by prosecutor silence. TikTok eviction law rally. I've been an innocent man my whole life. Resigned. Christopher Chichester, 131 Wynn Road, Rochester, New York. Here's the language from 1 year ago that I wrote. 1 year ago today, because there's the date right there. There's the foil. A box has changed. And 131 written road. Send it to me. Who is it? Here it is right here. Paul C. Metzler. I know exactly what he looks like. What's his name? Who forced me into Alex Renzi? Continuing proceedings, further proceedings, lunatic fringe. Do you know what I'm talking about? Perry Douglas, look up my name in your files, which I hate to use that word because it reminds me of the former East Germany when I use the word files. But you have files that are electronic or in paper form where you can find out how I'm forced into Alex Renzi, because I've been in there repeatedly. That's first because of Michael Luna. I'm going to read why. And then I'm in there for the continuing proceedings and further proceedings, which I'm going to talk about, which I already have. That is extremely difficult to talk about. And the reason why I'm forced into Alex Renzi for continuing proceedings or further proceedings when I'm at my temporary residence, 7 Liberty Pole Way, is coming on here to YouTube, and you freaks and psychopaths decide, how do we incarcerate him without a criminal charge? That's what further proceedings or criminal proceedings. August 11, 2024. So this is 2 years ago now. Perry Douglas, Julie Cianca. You follow me here? Now that I'm at 9 minutes and 50 seconds. August 11, 2026, I just read the Freedom of Information Law for you, Perry Douglas, you, Julie Cianca. August 11, 2025, I just read how I contacted you via Outlook, and that has arrived repeatedly via registered mail return receipt, USPS, Federal Express, UPS. 2 years ago today, August 11, 2024, Perry Duckles District Attorney's Office, 47 South Fitzhugh Street, Rochester, New York, 14614, Julie Cianca, Public Defender, 10 North Fitzhugh Street, Rochester, 14614. Attached PDFs, Freedom of Information Law document dated August 11, 2024, that will arrive in your office via registered mail return receipt, mailed in Arizona, Mathematical Process Silence. The address on the foil, my address listed below in Rochester, New York. The language on the foil, August 11, 2024. Documentation for the case of Christopher charges will be brought John P. Lomenzo Jr. Penn Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Sandra Dorley. 2. The documentation for the case of Christopher charges before Paul C. Lomenzo Penn Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Sandra Dorley. 3. The documentation for the case of Christopher charges Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Sandra Dorley. What's not to understand? Are the brain molecules smashing together correctly? Do you need me to mail you a copy of The Elements of Style by E.B. White and Armstrong Jr.? It is insane for you two taxpayer finance bureaucrats to refuse to disclose information you each possess an electronic file in your respective office. 5 criminal complaints are attached to PDF for these degenerates have not been arrested and prosecuted. 73312 Michael Lulan of the Montgomery Sheriff's Office. 75904 Richard Seaton of the Montgomery Sheriff's Office. And Tony Spano, Webster, New York. Laura Riley, Webster, New York. Layla Kumar Shah, Naylor Shah, Penn, New York. YouTube Hysteria, Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley. Judge Alex Renzi. YouTube Alienated, Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley. Judge Alex Renzi resigned. Christopher Chichester. And then I had the PDF attachments here, was foil from August 4, 2024, an earlier date, August 1, 2024, an earlier date. And then I have the criminal complaints that are right here. 200 times, 300 times, I'd have to check. How many times this has arrived? Was Sheriff Todd Baxter, this bald-headed, skin-headed, corrupt psychopath and freak, ignores the law? So, July 22nd, 2023. Todd Baxter, Sheriff, 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14604. Sandra Dorley, District Attorney, 47 South 50th Street, Rochester, New York, 14614. Attached to 4 criminal complaints with this language. The Richard C. Seaton of Montgomery Sheriff's walked to the Penn Public Library in Penn, New York, ran at Christopher Chichester, slammed his arm into the head of Chichester, causing him to fall backwards and hit his head on the ceramic tile floor. 2. Naylor Shah, Layla Kumar Shah, 2033 Penn Road, Penn, New York, falsely reporting the incident of Christopher Chichester, performing 26 Sanders from Drive, is walked through a parking lot next to his residence. 3. Antonio Spano, Fairport, New York, locked the front and back doors of his residence, 26 Sanders from Drive, Penn, New York, without a court order. 4. Laura Rod, Webster, New York, transport the personal belongings of Christopher Chichester from 26 Sanders from Drive in Penn, New York, to a storage locker in Webster, New York, without a court order. These are crimes. Each individual will not be arrested or prosecuted. There is 1 day in jail. Serve for these crimes is destroyed by life because you're incapable of identifying crime. You concoct crimes for innocent citizens. You hate the human condition. YouTube rejection for 113-918-42 Perry Duckles, 112-508, 75 cent Mark Monahan. Unconstitutional. Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley, Judge Alex Renzi resigned. So, it's not to understand, you bald-headed, skin-headed psychopath, Sheriff Todd Baxter. There's Richard Seaton. There's the language I just read for Richard Seaton. I'm swearing he violently attacked him. It does not matter. The blue wall silence is used by Todd Baxter for Richard J. Seaton. It does not matter. When I say it is this psychopath freak cop, Richard Seaton, violently attacked the term from the library, and I sign my name to it. The blue wall silence is activated from Sheriff Todd Baxter to protect Richard J. Seaton. False reporting an incident named Rashawn Lane of Kumar Shah. You just read. I signed my name, swearing they're false reporting. The parking lot I walked through 4,000 times in Penfield, New York. If you drive down Penfield Road to Fairport, passing Penfield Wegmans, you'll see. You can walk through that parking lot without being arrested or incarcerated employees of the Montgomery District Attorney's Office, Montgomery Sheriff's Office, because you're a different kind of American than me. Thomas Spano, Fairport, New York. This is obviously possible. It can be. The locked doors are locked out. We're out of court. It's a crime. Todd Baxter knows the law. This old man who's 80 years old. He is evil and sick. I'm in the process of contacting Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Find out if this old man, Antonio Spano, is in the United States for America legal because he has broken English from Italy, and he would pretend he would not know these, know things. I was telling him to fix him the residence with his broken English. I was preparing to leave anyway because of him. Like when I would say, there's something wrong with the shower, needs to be fixed, he would talk in his broken English to say, talk to me about what happened in Italy, and he doesn't know what I'm talking about, this old man. So, I'm not surprised. I do not know if Antonio Spano is in the United States legally, but I'm going to find out, just like I'm going to find out if Nayraj Shah and Layla Kumar Shah, 50-year-old man who lives with his mother, are in the United States legally. Why do you think I'm going to contact ICE about Neeraj Shah and Layla Kumar Shah? Can you figure it out? Why do you think I'm going to contact ICE about Antonio Spano? Can you figure it out? In addition to the fact that criminals. So here's Laura Riley. Here's the language for Laura Riley. Ex-girlfriend I have known for 40 years, since I was 20 years old. I used to think of her, she's an angel. Don't remember my exact thought. For decades, she's an angel. Not anymore. And when I'm talking to her on YouTube and on TikTok, I can email and tell me, Laura, why did you take my things to the storage locker? Tell me the facts and circumstances. What is your conversation with Antonio Spano? We lived in Webster. She was getting ready to go to work at the Penfield Public Library. And this is why we're moving from Webster to Penfield. And we sat in bed one night, and I pretended to interview her. I'm not talking about this because it's an arson. This is directly connected to Penfield Court. So there we are. And she was so happy to have this job interview, and I'm pretending to be a librarian as I interview her. Because I've been going to libraries since I was 5 years old in Selden, New York, when my mother first took me to a library when I was 5 years old. So when I'm pretending to interview Laura Riley about her job interview at Penfield Public Library, I do not know that when you open up the door right down the hallway, because the library is still out, this Penfield Court, I do not know this. Despite the fact, then when I would go see her at the library, when we moved to Penfield, I have no idea this vile, disgusting, repulsive six-star chamber is down the hall. I have no idea. I don't know. And then I slowly began to figure it out after about a week or two. And I say, it's not like the whole time she worked there and I'm walking over there, I'm in oblivion. Because I would see these sheriff office vehicles and other police vehicles. And then I understood the court's down the hall. And then I walked down there and I saw it, not knowing I'm eventually going to be in this repulsive, disgusting racket and star chamber, Penfield Court, where John P. Lomenzo's in there. And Paul C. Metzler, $28,000 for Paul C. Metzler. $34,000 for John P. Lomenzo Jr. Where's your financial disclosure? Perry Duckles and Elizabeth Buckley and Brian B. Green and Michelle Crowley. Are judges of the state of New York, town judges, required to file a financial disclosure for conflicts of interest in a court? Are New York State Supreme Court judges like Alex Renzi required to file a financial disclosure for conflicts of interest in court? I do not know the law. And since I worked for the New York State Legislature for 8 years, Assembly, Senate staff, and then for Governor George Pataki, I don't recall, even though I used to sit next to the squawk box when I was a Senate staffer, anything about judges and financial disclosure. But this is one thing that I'm also researching about judges and financial disclosures. Because some ridiculous little town judge, psychopath, and freak like Paul C. Metzler can have a conflict with a defendant, given how small Penfield, New York is. And since there's no financial disclosure for her, you can't see the conflict of interest that could be money. Conflict of interest can really be anything. Conflict of interest could be friendship. If the defendant in Penfield Court is a true friend, to the extent she has any of this bullheaded psychopath and freak, is a true friend, well, that's a conflict of interest. Am I right, employees? I'm going to apply for Michael Houlihan. 73312 73 Michael Houlihan, a Montgomery Sheriff's Office, walked on the private property, crossed from Reds, 26 Sanders Road Drive, Penfield, New York, Christopher Chichester. That Houlihan ran at Chichester approximately 1 a.m. with $85,000 Don Benedetto Sheriff. So Chichester ran away from Houlihan and Benedetto. I want to wear the identities. That Chichester grabbed the hammer alongside the Reds next to his bike to fix the bike's tire. That as Chichester placed his foot on the first 3 steps of the back porch, Houlihan grabbed his arm and hammered his hand forced upwards. Chichester ran across the back porch through a sliding glass door, and as Chichester never stopped running, it's impossible to swing the hammer at 73312 Michael Houlihan. It's impossible to swing the hammer at 73312 Michael Houlihan, you disgusting freaking psychopath. Director of the grand jury, Michelle Crowley. Brian P. Green, why didn't Michelle Crowley call me to the grand jury here with this Michael Houlihan hiding on private property with $85,000 Don Benedetto? And here I am swearing in my own handwriting here that Michael Houlihan lied under oath when he said I swung a hammer at him, because it's impossible to swing a hammer at this idiot Michael Houlihan when I ran the whole time. There I am swearing here that Houlihan's a perjurer. Why wasn't I called to the grand jury, District Attorney Brian P. Green? Why wasn't I called to the grand jury, Director of the grand jury, Michelle Crowley, promoted? Why? What's the answer? You don't think you have to answer. You don't believe you have to answer because you're freaks, psychopaths, and degenerates. Every single one of you at that district attorney's office, where you do not know you're in a Jonestown. So, who is it? I just told you again on this July 27, 2026, 3 years after I wrote that criminal complaint. That language I just read is right here. So 3 years ago, on July 27, 2023, wrote a criminal claim for perjury that described the fanatics of 73302 Michael in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Since today's August 11th, and this is July 27th, this has already arrived 2 or 3 times by Federal Express, UPS, or USPS registered mail return receipt. Where the foil here is about how the grand jury was convened. Where the foil is about Richard Seaton violently attacking me. So when I say that, I send it to you. This is the Gmail, and this is July 28th. This arrived at 2:22. So it has the language with all your email addresses in Monroe County to the extent I have them correct on July 27th. Then I take the cover letter where you can't see your email addresses. I fix it like this, and I send it. And I don't hear anything from Sheriff Todd Baxter. I'm telling him to tell me on this June 30th, this is corruption employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Pennsylvania Court, New York State Supreme Court, Public Defender's Office. Innocent man, June 30th, 2026. What is the status of the 5 criminal complaints I wrote for Richard Seaton, Nayraj Shalin, Kumar Shah, Laura Riley, Antonio Spano, Mike Woolen? This documentation, what is the status? The same one, where the date is changed and everything is the same. Has arrived 20 plus times to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter, where he blows off the law. This is where I am, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff. Send Richard Seaton over here, Todd, baby. This is where I am, 270 on East here. So when I leave here in the morning to walk out onto South Union Street at 270 on East right here, Todd, baby, tell Richard Seaton to run at me and slam me in the head, Todd, baby. And then I'll fall down and my head will crash against the concrete pavement. All right. And then also make sure when I also leave my residence here that Michael Houlihan's here. When I live 270 on East, Todd, baby, tell Michael Houlihan that I chased him with a hammer. Poor little Michael Houlihan. I'm trying to swing a hammer at this fucking idiot, psychopath, and freak. Do that for me, Todd, baby. All right. So here is Federal Express receipts. District Attorney Brian P. Green, Todd Baxter, Alex Renzi, Michael DiGiacomo, and there you are, right there, Julie Cianca. Now, I'm going to screenshot this. Julie Cianca for the Monroe County Legislature. There's my name. There's your name. Can you see it? Because I can see it. There's your name as I point to your name, Julie Cianca, right there. Julie Cianca. What are the names of my prosecutors? I'm going to screenshot this. I'm going to send this to Monroe County legislators. I'm going to say, I'm telling this hack and psychopath on August 11, 2026 to tell me the names of my prosecutors' files. This Federal Express arrived on July 13th, 5 weeks ago. There's nothing from her because she's corrupt. That's why. And then here, this is June 27th. Green, Baxter, Renzi, DiGiacomo here. And this is July 19th, which is the Department of Justice. Todd Blanche, who was just confirmed the Attorney General. Harmon K. Dillon, Josh Goldfarb, Kelly Martin. Those are the Deputy Attorney Generals. FedEx. I sent the Department of Justice a packet of what I'm going to read here today. Todd, baby. 270 hours. Send Richard Seaton over here. Tell him to slam me in the head, violently attack me. Send little Michael Houlihan over here and tell him that I chased him with a hammer and I'm trying to violently attack him with a hammer. Tell him to be over here tomorrow, when I leave here at 9 a.m. to go for a run. All right? That's where I'm going to be. So this documentation here, July 10th, 2026, here, this arrived repeatedly. I've written a Freedom of Information law 1,000 plus times to expose your absolute contempt for the law, to demand information about internal operations of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, where you're unaware of the truth that you're a corrupt spectacle. You're in fear of citizens learning that you violate civil and constitutional rights of innocent citizens, such as which your insane grand jury process of subjects not called to testify. That was July 10, 2025, to District Attorney Sandra Dorley. This arrived on July 10, 2026, to District Attorney Brian P. Green, Sheriff Todd Baxter. July 10, 2024, I contacted former District Attorney Sandra Dorley and Sheriff Todd Baxter with this language. What you fail to understand, party switcher, these taxpayer subsidized hacks I report that you delivered me to jail 6 times, the total size, Monroe County Jail, Rochester, New York, Livingston County Jail, Genesee, New York. I'm an innocent man driven to Livingston County by the Monroe County Sheriff's of Todd Baxter, the Sheriff Fanatical Jonestown. On July 10, 2023, I contacted the Office of Psychopaths, Fanatics, and Freaks, demand you disclose the names of prosecutors' sons are violating my civil constitutional rights. 1 year ago today, you refused to comply with the simplicity of my language. You refuse again, afflicted with the corruption, destroyed your integrity. On July 10, 2023, I contacted former District Attorney San Joe and Sheriff Todd Bags with this language. Comply with 26 Freedom of Information Law documents attached to PDF dated July 10, 2023, you sociopaths. This information includes mailing names on prosecutor's silence, the address on 620 Park Avenue listed below my name. You refuse. You refuse because you're drenched in fanatics, corruption, and hatred. I prosecute silence with Penfield Court Judge John P. Lomenzo Jr., Penfield Court Judge Paul C. Lomenzo, New York State Supreme Court Alex Renzi. Then I go on from there about that. So, freedom of information law. This is July 10, 2026. This is corruption for you, Brian P. Green. That's the 4 for Lomenzo. That's the 4 for Metzler. That's the 4 for Renzi. Who is it? Tell me who it is. This Deputy Attorney Perry Duckles and Julie Cianca, because I'm talking directly to you. And then this YouTube, with language I'm going to write later today, is going to arrive for the District Attorney and Sheriff. So, July 10, 2025, 1 year ago on July 10, 2024, contacted the District Attorney's Office with this language here. And I go on there for I just read that. So, July 10, 2024. This is a transcript of every argument made by a prosecutor, details and describe a crime. I can bracket no language. No language. Prosecutor never talked in court. Perry Duckles and $140,000 public defender Julie Cianca. How am I jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in Penfield Court, New York State Supreme Court? How? In his packet of the criminal complaints that also arrived that I just read. So, April 4th, 2026, to Todd Baxter. Where 133 Corporate Drive, P.O. Box 25395, Farmington, New York. I'm in Farmington, New York. It's just like Antonio Spano. More properties at 434 Oxford Street in Rochester, New York. Locked me out of my residence of 30 months at 275 Park Avenue without a court appearance, without a court order, with a law smashed into a million little pieces. And Sheriff Todd Baxter and RPD Chief David Smith are going to ignore that complaint for these two freaks whose name are Lisa and Sandy, where they land out on the door with the door locked, and I don't know this is happening. Do you understand what I just said? I'm going to be on here soon in the next 72 hours, only about Rochester City Court Judge Michael Gracci, where I'm going to have photographs of what was on my door because of those pictures. That's why I'm in Farmington, New York. And I do not have a document that was in my possession for 40 years because of Todd Baxter. I don't have my original DD-214 because of you. YouTube abuse of power, 4 criminal complaints. Violence on Richard Seidman, 1 judge, heinous. How am I just 6 times a prosecutor to make an argument in Penfield Court, New York State Supreme Court, that I committed a crime, resign. Christopher Chichester, 1133 Corporate Drive, P.O. Box 25395, Farmington, New York. This DD-214 was in my 1980 Mercury Capri when I TS at the Squadron 17 Cavalry on April 14, 1988, where I had 40 days leave accrued. There it is right there. There's my DD-214. Good conduct medal, Army Service Ribbon, Sharpshooter M16, Expert Badge, Army Lapel Button, Air Assault Badge, Army Chief Medal, Army Commendation Medal. I'm a 10-day graduate. I'm a graduate of 10-day United States